fly, and the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dare to, oh why can't I? Oh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The dreams that you dare to, why, oh why can't I?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brad Webber, and my role here today is to help you all celebrate the life of and pay tribute to the late Phyllis Amelia Roberts. Phyllis passed away on the 5th of February at 83 years of age. So on behalf of both the boys, their wives and the extended family, I'd like to thank everyone for their presence here today at the Mackay Family Chapel at Ourimbah. The family wish to express a huge heartfelt thank you. Now, whether you've travelled from near or far to be here this morning, the family just would like to say thank you. Of course, for coming to say your farewells and to pay tribute to Phyllis's life, again, thank you. For those that have joined us online this morning, the family would like to say thank you for taking time out of your day and joining us with your online presence. As much as your thoughts and prayers are with us here in the chapel this morning, please let it be known that we're also thinking of you as well. Having to say your farewells through a computer screen to a loved one is just not right. So thank you so much for joining with us to say farewells to Phyllis today. I'm going to ask Neil and Mark to come forward, share some thoughts, some memories of their mum.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think most people know who I am. I'm Neil Roberts and
Mark Roberts.
So, thanks. I think that bit of laughter there should set the tone of the day. Mum loved having a yarn and having a laugh, so I just want to try to keep that a bit uplifted today if we can. Anyway, I better get on to it because I'm on a strict timeline. Thanks, Brett. I'd like to welcome you all here today. Mark and me really appreciate all the love and support you've shown us, and to the extended family, and that's really important to me. Mum was born in Willoughby Street, Epping, on the 4th of February in 1939. She was the 5th child of Fred, Ray, Terry and sisters to Kath, Dulcie, Margaret. Albert and Sadie had a large block of land in Epping where all the kids would play and work and grow vegetables and produce for the family and neighbours. Mum would tell stories on how Pa would go trapping rabbits and bring them home and dress them up. Mum and the sisters would put them in a cane basket and go door to door selling them. That just shows a bit of what was going on back in that era. Mum would tell stories how, sorry, I've lost myself already, that's pretty unusual. In her early years, she was spent with family and friends camping down the Hawkesbury River near Croslands, where Pa would put up tents and have his nets and go fishing. Mum always loved the outdoors. I know that a love for gardening and outdoors came from her early childhood days with Pa. Her love of cooking came from Nan, who always had apple pies and scones in the oven, and the fish and meat that Pa had cooked and kept from the week before. No one ever went hungry or thirsty at the Kirk household. She attended Carlingford District School, reading her references from the headmaster at the age of 15. She was a sound character, honest, reliable, punctual, and extremely conscientious of work. Mum carried on those traits all her life. Mum's first job leaving school was working for Redcliffe's, Buckingham's, Grace Brothers, doing various jobs, sewing, making ties, sales assistant. From here she went to managing different business departments, including sales, manufacturing, at various business, Unilever, Hilliers and Mirvac. Across the road from her house in Willoughby Street was Sam and Gladys' house. Mum spent some time over there and very close to them. It was a fine day in 1956 that Mum noticed a young fellow who was starting to build a house. Well, the keen-eyed young fellow was Dad, and he was at 25 and Mum was 17. They met and it was love at first sight. That love lasted until their last breaths. From the moment Mum and Dad met, they were inseparable. They loved going on bike rides, picnic, dances, loved playing tennis, going for long drives with family, friends. They loved the south coast, going out west. There was always a place at the table for Dad at the Kirk family. I can remember growing up at a very young age, Pa's place, all the girls in the kitchens, cooking up a big storm, boys out prawning. It was just, a really good family atmosphere. Mum and Dad got married in 1958 in Epping, lived with Dulce Wall while they worked on their house and saved up to get the block of land. Over the next 18 months they worked weekends, afternoon to build their home. Mum would do her day job and then sew clothes all night. Dad worked every bit of overtime so we could just make sure that they gave Mark and myself and the wider family a good go. It was a big year in 65 because after 7 years of trying to conceive I was born. Now saying I'm special doesn't give credence to how happy Mum and Dad were to have their first child. Then 5 years later Mark arrived and that completed the Roberts family. Mum was so thrilled to have a family. She always wanted Mark and I. We grew fast to become little boys. At times we could be very challenging, she reckoned. I would love to push Mum to my limit, as most people would know here. We would always clash at times. Mum was always wielding the stick or the wooden spoon, or the big piece of cane we found when we moved from Carlingford to the Central Coast. We found all these pieces of cane that us kids had hidden behind the fridge, so Mum couldn't find us to flog us with us. Anyway, as we know, Mum just loved her sewing. She was a brilliant seamstress, making nearly all her own clothes. Growing up, our large table in the rumpus room had various materials all laid out and Mum cutting patterns and sewing. She did it for work, but she also did it for love and making things. Mum's other love, apart from Dad and us kids, was cooking. I think there's a few people here that have eaten some of Mum's tucker over the years. We all know Mum was a gifted cook. Nan had taught her well. She always thinking about the days ahead, what tasty feed she could cook for the family. She was so well organised. Just loved her baking and making cakes and slices. There was never any waste in our home. Everything was reused and made up into nice little tasty morsels. There was always various meats and fish dishes, corn fritters, stews. Mum's right-hand man in the kitchen was Dad, as we all know. They worked effortlessly together in the kitchen. Mum running the show, barking orders, Dad being Dad. And Dad trying to make his rissoles and his meatloaf, which he loved. Mum always made sure there was food in the fridge for the masses. My mates would always head straight to the fridge for a cold feed of sausages or rissoles, all made with Mum's love. Mark and I were really heavily involved with Cubs and Scouts and Venturers and baseball. Mum would always have us organised for our weekly meetings, training, camping, adventures. She was always so well organised. Everything had its place, was laid out, ready when needed. Mum managed the Carlingford Baseball Club canteen for many years. It was run like a small military manoeuvre. She just loved helping community and family. Growing up, we had various family holidays, especially with our beloved railways. We went on the Indian Pacific, many trips to the Gold Coast, Cairns, boat cruises, always an adventure. And Mum would always seek to explore the regions we visited. Some trips we'd also have other family members attending, which really made the trip Mum was always in helping and supporting the family and friends. There was always a bed at home for all. She just loved all her nieces and nephews. Over the years, there were several of them that moved into our home, and it was seamless as Mum just loved to have more people to care for. She had more people to cook for, and she just loved it. She and Dad spent endless time looking after our younger and older family members like Sam and Glad, the list goes on, picking up Nan every Thursday, go shopping and getting her hair done. As we know, Mum was born organiser. Nearly every family event, being wedding, birthday or key milestone in one's life, we mark with a celebration. The Kirk family, the Roberts family, all our family just loved having a party. There was never a reason not to have a party. But the Kirk Christmas party was the key calendar event for our family and friends. These functions were the fabric of our family and friends. They were all held over weekend places like Clontarf, Newport Hotel, Patonga Beach, Shelley Beach, Batto Bay. These 3D events include dress-up skits on various topics. We had weddings and pirates and cross-dress, Hawaiian, the list goes on. Mum and Auntie Katie and her extended family would come across to visit us from England, and they were all great times. I think our English heritage has definitely carried through to my generation. Because of looking down at my family, and we all have a party still. I just wanted to thank Mum for looking after me and all my mates and their girlfriends and their wives. Mum loved having other girls around. As I know, all us boys were a bit wearing thin at times. Mum and Dad always opened their hearts at their house to all. She fussed over it and loved it when the house was full of people. There was always a project in the shed being worked on, so Mum and Dad would make sure we're all watered and fed. The gatherings would always see and lead towards the wee hours of the morning, Dad bringing down port and Mum bringing out pies, sausages or rolls. No one would ever go hungry in the Roberts household. Mum and Dad loved going on holidays. They ended up purchasing a caravan and did various trips around Australia. They had many cruises overseas, as most of you know. Dad was happy to go everywhere Mum wanted to go. So when he retired, they travelled the world a couple of times round. Mum being Mrs. Kodak, as we all called her affectionately in the family, documenting every trip she went to. Dad loved reminiscing about his adventures with Mum in Alaska. Dad and Mum spent a lot of time at the farm. They loved spending time with the kids, going to school, sporting carnivals, eczema shows. I loved spending time with Mum and Dad working on all our little projects. I picked up my love from cooking for Mum and still today cook like her. No real recipe, just a handful of this, scoop of that, shake of this and a whole lot of love. The grandchildren loved going to Grandma's. They lived near the beach and they spent much of their time walking to Crackneck and down to the beach, always having an ice cream on the way. The grandchildren loved going down to Grandma's house. They always had a great time. Dad and Mum were so blessed to have Sue and Michelle as beautiful daughter-in-laws and gave them 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Mum loved spending time with the girls, as most of her life she's had to put up with all us boys. Love always, Mum. Sleep easy and Godspeed. Thanks, Mum.
Thanks, mate. I'd like to start with what I'm grateful for. I'm really grateful for my family. We're a small but a tight group. They have been an incredible source of strength over the past few weeks and worked together to make this service happen. And I thank you all for this. I'm also grateful that this room is filled with so many people that knew and cared for my mum. Seeing the love and support here for my mum and my family today is humbling and inspiring. Thank you for taking the time today to be here. It means a lot to me. Mum's life has been obstacles and struggles for 7 years with devastating illness, yet through it all, her love and care for her family remained her focus, and in so many ways she was able to show that love to us. The determination through adversity is a powerful lesson for us, and I believe in her legacy. What a wonderful lesson she gave us. Keep your priorities straight. Keep that which is most important in focus. Love and care for your family. Let them know in all ways you can show them that you love them. Don't let adversities or setbacks or any distractions of the world keep you from this most important aspects of life. But through everything Mum went through, she managed to keep her priorities straight. What can be more important than loving and showing your family? How can some of us who are blessed with so much forget to be thankful for, why somehow Mum kept her faith through all of her trials. This is a wonderful legacy. This is a wonderful example to follow. Keep focus on what is truly important. Family, love, not only when your life is easy, but when it's difficult too. Mum loved her family, enjoyed cooking in the kitchen, spoiling the grandchildren with her food delights, especially her beef casserole with extra helpings of brown sugar. We never went hungry. And just when you had eaten all you thought you could, out came dessert and the late night snacks, and the table would be full of food again. Mum has made some awesome recipes, but the last one she left me was priceless. Mum's recipe went a bit like this, and it's one I'll never forget, and will be passing it on to my family. 1 cup of kindness. Kindness to Mum was letting family and friends into our home, sharing a meal, a story, and having a laugh. 2 cups of love. Mum love filled the room, and whenever she walked and sat, her love filled the air. She comforted us with warm hugs, and her heart was always kind and loving. Combining kindness and love is what I remember most throughout my life.
With our children, Jaden and Luke and Michelle, I enjoyed spending summers at the local beach and winters with the boys playing sport. Mum and Dad loved joining us in these days, and they are so wonderful memories for us to treasure. As a son, I grew up with the most incredible role model who taught me always to be myself, and to always push myself to learn more. I feel honoured and privileged to have been your son. You always loved me unconditionally, and were the best mother anyone could wish for. I will miss you forever. On you, mate.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to ask all the grandchildren to come forward. Please light your candles on the way across, and then please share some thoughts and memories of your grandma.
On behalf of all the grandchildren, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. For those who don't know me or perhaps recognise me, my name is Jaden Roberts, and I'm the oldest of the grandchildren standing here today. Together, we would like to say a few words in memory of our grandmother. Phyllis Roberts, known best as Grandma to us, was a major contributor in shaping the future of us grandchildren. Luke and I spent many weekends with our grandparents, and each weekend we had something different to look forward to. Whether it was walks and a picnic up to the local beach to visit Elephant Rock, whale watching at Crackneck, train rides to Sydney, or just running amok around their home, there was no lack of entertainment and things to do. I could stand here and tell you 100 different stories about how Grandma kept us entertained, but I'll leave you with one story that was definitely not entertaining at the time, but looking back is something that brings us joy. One day, we rocked up at Grandma's house, excited than ever to see what was in store while we were in her presence. When we got to the kitchen table, 5 wooden spoons welcomed our eyes, all varying in length, width, and levels of intimidation. But there was one very obvious factor that made each of them unique. Each spoon was pre-assigned to a grandchild with their name written on it with permanent marker. While I can't remember who had the biggest spoon or who got it the most, I'll always remember Grandma yelling, "You little buggers," and chasing us around the house with our personalised spoon, and us yelling back saying, "That's not my spoon." Grandma, we are forever grateful to have you as a grandmother for the time we did, and we find peace in knowing that you're reunited with Grandpa. I promise you that the Roberts name will continue to flourish and the family legacy will stay strong. We love you. I'll now pass you over to Emily to say a few more words.
As Jaden mentioned, we could talk for days about her. Here are some of our fondest memories. The pristine lounge room. Anybody who visited the house on Rusby Street knew about the fancy lounge room. We would remember as kids playing Monopoly, chess and countless other games. There was a rug from the garage to the kitchen just so we wouldn't wear or dirty out her carpet. There was one rule for the lounge room and that was do not sit on the couches. Well, just for us, that set the challenge. Who was brave enough to sit on it? Yes, that's right. Who was brave enough to sit on it? And how long were you game enough to stay there? Countless times we played this, and you'd want to make sure that she didn't catch you because you knew what was coming for you. Your wooden spoon with your own name on it, except me. Well, she had my spoon, but my God, she would never use it on me. It was the smallest of them all. Over to dinner time. Once dinner was over, you knew what that meant. News time. The 5 grandchildren got up and we had to report on the news just for her in the lounge room. We talked about everything to anything. What we did on that day, whether it was in the backyard, on the street, going for walks or even the beach. Even the weather got a mention. But you weren't the favourite if you talked about that, because that wasn't the favourite topic. She loved hearing about different parts of the day, even though she was there every step of the way. On some special occasion, we would even put on a costume and a show, dancing, singing and laughing. We couldn't have asked for a better news crew if you asked me, her own grandchildren. Now to the Roberts family Christmas at the Baddo Bay Community Hall. Wow, what a time. As kids, we looked forward to it each and every year. A time we would all come together to celebrate a day as a family.
Take a breath. Take a breath.
As kids, we look forward to it every year. A time we'd all come together and celebrate the day as a big family. They had the biggest and best play equipment with the ship, which we all loved playing on. You could hardly get us off it except for when it was lunch, because my God, was there some food. Grandma and her friends would cook for days. And not only that, Grandma made sure that Santa would stop by and visit us, all of us. At present, a present in his sack ready to go. But I look back at it now, and it's not about the presents, but more of the time we got to spend with her and Grandpa. Grandma was fairly strict lady, but we all loved and cherished her. As today is a sad day, we won't be mourning her, but celebrating what an amazing life she had and the amount of joy she brought into our lives. We will forever look up to you, Grandma, to you and Grandpa. We love you to the moon and back. Goodbye, Grandma.
Thanks, guys. Bev, can you come and share, please?
Hello, my name's Bev Webb. I used to be Bev Kirk. Well, I'm still part of a Kirk family, so I haven't really changed much, except just got older. Number 10 Bardia Road, Carlingford. To many of us holds many memories. It was a venue for so many events from my earliest memory as a kid up until adulthood. Birthdays, weddings, Christmases and full-on parties. Those parties were hilarious. It was a warm, chaotic home made more so by one woman, Auntie Phyllis. She was front and centre of that home, the matriarch, whose zest for life was enormous. Nothing seemed to faze her. Her welcome was always warm and chatty and always included a food and cuppa. Guests unexpected? No problem. A fabulous cook who was always in the kitchen cooking up something delicious. Dinner, dessert, snacks, nothing was too much trouble. There was always plenty to go around and some to go as well. I remember one of my favourites, a marshmallow and strawberry slice. It was pretty yummy. As one of 4 kids with a large cohort of cousins, there was always something going on in that house, and I loved that house, and Auntie and Uncle best of all. I spent a year at Carlingford High School. There were many a time I wagged school to pop down the hill to visit her and have afternoon tea, and then nip back in time for the bus back to the homes. They were none the wiser, and she never told. She was a keen sewer, and she made many dresses for my sister Kathy and I when we were kids. Such was her generosity and care of time and care. Uncle and Auntie opened their home to all of us. Even a couple of us prepared for our weddings there. She fussed and preened and photographed it all. You and I know she's chronicled more of our lives with those photos and videos than anyone. She was the queen of parties and an organiser extraordinaire. Who can forget the reenactment of their marriage on their 25th wedding anniversary? The hilarious ceremony performed by Uncle Brian, the beach attire of Auntie and Uncle. Those striped swimsuits were a hoot. And what about Auntie Cass' rendition of "What's the matter you, eh?" She performed it so many times, but I still laugh when I remember it. The years were filled with many of these fun events. She was the glue that held our family Christmas gatherings together and always held around Nana's birthday as a joint celebration. She organised everybody, and look out if you wanted to change what she insisted you bring. These continued when they retired to the Central Coast. It was a great opportunity to catch up with all my favourite aunts and uncles and cousins. Even the proceedings of Santa had her stamp on it. She loved us all, cared for us all, talked to us all, and talk and talk and talk. Boy, could she talk. Visits were never short. She loved gossip, wanted to know everything, what I was doing, what my brother and sister were doing, how many, I've just lost where I was up to. How many nieces and nephews did I have? What my love life was like, work, you name it. It was discussed. And of course there was always food to discuss, recipes exchanged. I could always count on a robust conversation every time I met up with her. And I never left without a tax discussion with Uncle Earl as well. If I was close by, I always called in. Whether she was at work in Epping at the baby shop, Meadowbank at the spare parts engineering, home, the coast, wherever. When I met and married Russell, they were there for me, being part of the preparations. They were there on the day, and then joining in the hilarious after party the next day. They were my substitute mum and dad. I was so proud to have them with me on that day. They were very dear to my heart, and I sorely miss them both. They often came to Sydney to lunch with me, and they made special trips to everyone over their lives. Another memorable trip was for Terry's birthday, a significant one, and we all camped around the house and talked and laughed and thoroughly enjoyed the inclusiveness of the weekend. There were some very funny antics going on that weekend too. I don't know whether you remember Uncle Brian trying to climb out the caravan window instead of the front door. It was quite a scene. I am sure we all have some wonderful memories like mine and how Auntie Phyllis and Uncle Earl impacted our lives. Today is a celebration of this wonderful woman who generously gave her time and love for all her family and friends. She gave me so much love, and I have missed those lovely chats and visits over the past few years, but I'll never forget those memories. They are timeless.
Thank you for sharing, Bev. Bev mentioned the word memories. We're going to pause the service now. We're going to put some more memories up on the screen. Please sit back and enjoy some images of Phyllis's life.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the flowers are dying. 'Tis you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow, and I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh Danny boy, I love you so. But when you come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead, as dead I well may be, I pray you'll find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I will hear the soft you tread above me, and o'er my grave will warmer, sweeter be, for you will come and tell me that you love me, and I will sleep in peace until you come to me. I will sleep in peace until you come to me.
It is now time for us to commit Phyllis's body to the elements. Before we do that, however, let us each be thankful and grateful for her life. I'm going to ask each of you to pause and remember the impact that Phyllis' life has had on your own. You'll each remember her life by the memories that she leaves behind. Now, those of us who feel deeply may grieve deeply. No philosophy or religion ever taught to us can prevent that natural reaction from the human heart. We come into this world with nothing. We depart with nothing. However, it's the memories that we leave behind, with family and with friends. They're a mark of our life success. I'm sure you will each agree that Phyllis was a very successful woman. Can I ask everyone to please be upstanding at this stage? In grief at your death, but gratitude for your life, and for the privilege of sharing it with you, we now tenderly and reverently commit the body of our loved one Phyllis for cremation. As your spirit and soul rise from your earthly being, know that your family and your friends are here to say farewell. Earth to earth, dust to dust, we bid you peace, we bid you farewell. Please feel free this morning to join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, on behalf of all of Phyllis's family, thank you so much for your presence here today. The family would like to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you for the love and friendship you've each shown Phyllis throughout her lifetime. Once the service concludes, the family's going to be heading over to Ourimbah RSL. You'll be sharing a cup of tea, a bite to eat. I'm sure there'll be a glass or two raised in honour of Phyllis. Most importantly though, you've each arrived today carrying your own memories of Phyllis. You've each shared a moment, a time, a place. There's a chance that some of you may be carrying stories that most in this room have not heard before. Your job when you're at Ourimbah RSL, find someone who hasn't heard the story that you're carrying of Phyllis. Please share it with them. That's what will keep her alive and living in your hearts, in your memories and in your thoughts. Now, just before we do exit the chapel this morning, we're going to give everyone an opportunity to come forward and just say a final farewell to Phyllis. We'll be doing that in the way of a floral tribute. We have a basket of roses there. We'll prepare the casket shortly. We'll put a piece of music on. I'm going to ask you to come forward, take a flower. Please place it on Phyllis's casket. When you do that, feel free to leave a kiss, say farewell, and then I'm going to ask you to head straight out of the chapel. It has just started raining again outside. There's not much room under the portico. When you do exit the chapel, if you could please just make your way across to the cars, head straight across to Ourimbah RSL, and then start your conversations. That would be great. Ladies and gentlemen, again on behalf of the family, I'd like to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue water. Dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, I hear her voice in the morning hour. She calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, take me home. Country roads, take me home. Country roads. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue water. Dark and dusty, painted on the sky. Misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, I hear her voice in the morning hour. She calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, country road.